small seaport from Sandside was importing wines from France and other goods from Ireland and the Isle of Man, and from the west of England by the 17th century. It was a principal port of Westmorland until the 19th century, up until the arrival of the railways in 1876.
Yeah, single line that was built in 1876. You remember last year I came to Arnside and my journey, quite a long day it was, finished at Bela Viaduct just north of Sandside, a little village there, and I intended to come back and do the journey from where the viaduct's been demolished and work my way through an intermediate station all the way into Hincaster Junction that joins the West Coast Main Line. So today I am super excited to share this with you and see what adventures I can get up to.
The Furness Railway local passenger train service, known locally as Kendal Tommy, for much of its life operated through Sandside from Grange-over-Sands to Kendal between 1876 and May of 1942, when the station was also closed to passengers. Passenger services came to a complete end on the 4th of May 1942. And the track between Sandside and Hincaster Junction was lifted in 1966. A short line from Arnside to Sandside lasted until the 1970s to serve the local quarries.
You find, isn't it? Not too sure what this is all about. It's most definitely something probably to do with the railway. I assume because it was between the two intermediate stations that it was a refuge point for the rail workers. It's only surmise. But this aperture is certainly a new addition. I've not seen anybody yet. But the two intermediate stations between Arnside and Hincaster Junction was Sandside, which I did in the previous video, and Heverhsam, if I pronounced it right. And it's Heverhsam I'm going to try and track down next before I move on to Milnthorpe and then do an investigation to an old tramway that was beside the Lancaster Canal. There's all sorts of brick and brack lying around along this section. I don't think it's really an area where many people walk. And there's this quite a large void here, which I can't make head and tail of, but the amount of stone and brick that's here, it may have been some sort of stabilisation for the big trough. But that's basically, I think, what it is. A valley, it comes down quite steep as it's going off in that direction. It'd be interesting to see what the rest of it looks like, but I don't think I can go any further. So in this case, back to the car. Heverhsam is my next stop. So this is Heverhsam station, if I've got it right. And the station will just be through there. I'll show you that in a second. I just sort of have a little walk up and down, and there's 3 immediate stone bridges going across, and they're really quite pretty. It's evident we're in a cut-in. You can see they've had to cut away a lot of the stone with the tall trees all up above. But it's yeah, this is a really nice little walk. I can imagine bringing the kids in; they quite enjoy it. Hincaster Junction, the grounds are kind of still there now, but that's where the West Coast Main Line is today. So I'm going to try and walk as far up and as close to the West Coast Main Line safely as possible and see where the junction is, if there's anything left.
Well, yeah, that was interesting. So there's a wonderful old lady has just asked me basically what I'm up to. Walking around having a look, taking photographs. So I've explained myself, and she was also talking about Kendal Tommy, the little the character locomotive as I'm calling it. I was actually in the wrong place for Heverhsam, and that's correct how it's pronounced. I thought it was down here, but she said it's a little bit further back in the village, and the platforms still remain. She moved here in about 1966, and the railway, there was no services then, but she said the track had just been lifted. Some of the track had still remained, and then they'd ripped up the rest of it. Now it's a little sort of pathway for you to walk along. Carry on making my way in the car towards Hincaster Junction before we move on to something a little bit special.
So good to see a train running on the track today. Avanti West Coast. That little old lady, bless her, she was correct. The local estate have put a great big fence right under a huge cut-in. So even if you were to walk it, you couldn't get any further. But the Hincaster Junction is here. This is where the line is, and you can walk along the disused line really close up to the West Coast Main Line. It would be good to get the drone up, get a shot of them coming together, but I think I'm a little bit close to the main line and I like to play it safe. So this is the end of this particular journey, following the railway line from Arnside to Hincaster Junction. Quite a quaint, beautiful little stretch. I'm very impressed. I thoroughly enjoyed making this one. I'm now going to go into Milnthorpe. Milnthorpe had a railway station. Actually, it was the village that was a little bit further towards this West Coast Main Line. We'll have a little chat about that, and then we can start talking about a particular tramway that was pulled by horses for a gunpowder works and a canal. A tunnel, I think, that is really exceptionally long. I love tunnels and I love railways. It's always comforting to see a garage or something that has the name station, so you know you're definitely in the right place. The railway station and what is the West Coast Main Line for Milnthorpe was actually an area called Acanthwaite. Now there's a garage here, the old station pub hotel. The grounds that I'm here on now are quite important, really.
Milnthorpe station was in a hamlet called Acanthwaite. It was opened about 1849, used for passengers, goods and weekly cattle fares. This closed in 1960. The North West Regional Rail Strategy calls for a 20 million cash injection to increase the level of passengers and freight transport by building a new station at Milnthorpe, at Hesbank and Garstang. This would turn Carnforth back into a regular West Coast mainline stop and providing passing loops or partially reinstating a stretch of the double track at Oxenholme, allowing more trains to run on the Lakes Line to Windermere, thus developing regular express links between Lancaster, Barrow and Windermere. So the Gatebeck tramway ran from Milnthorpe station north, a 3-foot 6-inch horse-drawn tramway that served the local mill connected to the Lancaster Canal. The tramway branched around across Bobbin Mill Lane, Crooklands, around Peasley Bridge beside a canal and weir, doubles back up to Bobbin Mill Lane, and it continued to Shallon Mill to a gunpowder works built by the Wakefield family to replace their works at Old Sedgwick, and built around 1851.
Nothing but bone dry grass. I could carry on a bit further up there, but there used to be a tramway, a horse-drawn tramway that came down here, and it goes off in that direction, which is now my next port of call. It would seem I've travelled on the road that's blocked off. The distance to get to my route is only there. The car's just parked there, so I'm going to have to drive all the way around and find a different area to go to. I'm not the only one, there's a few more people. But I found the canal. What was interesting was, I don't think there was a waterway that went anywhere near where I was before at the railway station. I think it was just purely served by the tramway. I've been hunting around, I've been to a garage, trying to find the old tramway, and one of the locals around here saying that mainly now the grounds are a caravan park. There's a caravan park up here where the old tramway used to run, but it's on private property, so I can't really go into there. Now to the last part of the video, we're going back to Hincaster to go and find us a tunnel. The object of the game basically was to show you the significance of how the railways played a part with the tramway, connecting it to the canalway. And I'm kind of intrigued really, because that there was a canal, and the north part of Lancaster Canal is empty. It's overgrown, it's a disused canal. But rumour has it there's supposed to be a tunnel just a little bit further up here.
Hincaster Tunnel and the canal helped serve the area and the works, with them building the tunnel that aided the north section of the canal through the local limestone lands. 378 yards long, lined with 4 million bricks, and made from clay dug locally from Mosside Farm about 1817. Mosside brickworks were far too efficient, for in 1818 Thomas Fletcher, the canal's engineer, put up for sale 10,000 bricks left over from the tunnel. These clay pits and the brickworks were resurrected in 1845, employing over 100 men and 30 horses, and these bricks were made for the new Lancaster to Carlisle Railway.
Oh, well, Hincaster Tunnel. This is the walkway that actually separate from the tunnel, and you couldn't go through the tunnel. It is dangerous. It is incredibly muddy. It's not my idea of fun. As much as I like to make good content, give that one a miss. And the navvies were employed to build this tunnel. They had their contractual meeting at Kendal when they were said they were okay to come down and dig this out. It's quite a feat, it's quite a tunnel. Obviously I'll put all my links in the description area down below, and photographs of my journey of today. But I'm done, I'm tired, and I think I've been able to connect the canals with the tramway with the railways. It has been a good day, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. But that's it now, I'm done. And until next time.